Hi guys, very good morning to you. So this is Ajay, and I'm going to talk about today another Access VBA code where we're going to actually learn that how to delete all the queries in just one button click, right? I have received a couple of questions regarding the Access VBA in the last 1 month, and you all actually want me to talk a lot on the Access VBA because my channel actually always talked about the Excel and the Excel VBA majorly. 95% of the videos are actually on the Excel and Excel VBA. And if you're watching this channel for the first time, then I just would like to request you to go to the playlist, and you can find all these basically the playlist categories, which you can scroll down and you can check that which particular video you want to look at it. And we have divided all the videos categorically, right? So for example, if you're interested in watching the videos about how to connect the Excel with the Outlook, you can send the emails, you can play around with the folders, you can save the attachments from the Outlook, then please go ahead and click on this playlist and you will have the 9 beautiful videos over there, right? So in this video we're going to talk about the Access VBA only. So I have recently started my videos on the Access, and this video I'm going to upload on this MS Access collection loop, because we are going to actually learn today that how to run a collection loop and how to come across all the the queries and how we can actually delete it, right? This is the VBA collection loop. This is for the Excel VBA. So wherever you actually, if you're interested in watching any of the MS Access video, then please go to the playlist where you see that in the beginning, you have a MS Access. So there is one more actually, the playlist, which you can find here if you just scroll it down. So yeah, that's the one, connect MS Access with Excel. So if you click on this, you will have the 4 videos where we actually talked about only the Access VBA, how you can actually import the data, how you can export the data from the Access to Excel. So basically it's all about the connectivity part, right? So in this video, as I was talking about, sometime in the real situation, when you have a lot of queries in your Access, maybe 100 or 200, and let's say you want to delete all of them. So how to delete them in one step, right? So if you're going to let's say how we do it manually in the front end, you just click on the query and you can click on the delete. The moment you click on the delete, it says that do you want to delete the query. So if you click yes, then please remember that it is not going to undo. You cannot get it back if you're just going to delete it, right? And if you select this, let's say I'm going to press the shift key, and let's say I have selected all these queries, I can click on this, right click, and I can say that delete. Okay, do you want to delete all the subjects? Delete these objects will remove them from the group. So if I click on the yes, then all the queries is again going to be deleted. But the loop which I'm going to talk about is that you can also run, and in that loop you can create a button, and that will help you in removing the queries. So this generally we do it to prevent any damage to the database, because sometimes what happens when your user uses the database, he may not be, let's say, familiar with the Access. Then instead of deleting the queries, what if he deletes the table? What if he deletes the forms? So that is going to put you actually in very it's going to put you in under huge trouble. So to avoid that, we can create a button and we can write there that this is for the delete queries, this is for the delete forms, this is for the delete tables. So that is what we're going to discuss in this video. So let's go ahead and let's just check that how to write this code. So I'm going to write here delete. So the first query I'm going to write is retrieving the information, retrieving query names. So how about getting the query names here, right? Because the loop which I'm going to talk about, it is not only to delete it, right? You can also get the information there. You can also export them queries one by one, right? So in this video, of course, I'm not going to talk about that, how you can actually export or how you can make the copies of your queries to another database, or maybe to Excel you want to export it. We are going to discuss here only about the collection loop where we're going to delete the queries, and at the same time, if you want to fetch the query name, if you want to see the query name in the form of, let's say, message box, then how you can do that. So let's quickly start. So what you need to do is you need to declare a variable called, let's say, Q as do query def, right? Do is is actually the data access object, right? This is basically a class object which we use in the access. By default, this is the library which you can use. You don't have to go to any tools and reference, you know. And there's another call which is called the ActiveX data objects, which is called ADO. So I'm not going to talk about that here, but we're going to use this object class do, so you don't have to do anything, just write it like this. And next thing we are going to write is the collection loop for each queue in. For each queue in, and then this is what you need to write: current DB, which is your current database, and then query devs, right? Next. Simple. It's a very simple actually loop. It's a very short loop. So now what you need to do is, obviously I want you to show that I want you to see the query names here. So this is how you can write a queue.name. Now remember, queue is not now any sort of normal variable. It's actually the object. It stands for the query dev, right? So it means that it is going to talk about all the queries, the things which you can do with the queries, for example their properties and the methods. So that's why when you press here queue, you see that you get to see all the things. So this is what exactly we can do with the queries. We can execute them, we can connect them, we can close, cancel. There are a lot of actually methods in the properties here, so we'll not go into that. I'll just keep it simple. So here we go, and I guess we can run this now. Let me press F8. There we go. That's the first query. You can see here that I got my first query, and then this is my next query, and then this is my third query. So they're going very well in the sequence, bottom performers, everything. Let me just press F5, and there we go. So we have all the queries, one by one you can actually access them. So if you are looking forward to maybe if you're stuck in 100 queries and you want to find out where is exactly whether this query exists or not, you can also program it and you can see that where exactly is that query. But otherwise, obviously, to search for the query, you have this search button always on. For example, you want to see that any query which has a cross button, just write there cross. The moment you write CR, you have all the queries by the name of cross tab. So I have just only one query, so that's why I'm able to see just one query. If you write here, let's say D, you see that all the queries are coming here with the D. Now this D means that D can be anywhere. So the moment you write day like this, you see that we have day 1 and day 2, all the queries here. So this is another a good option in the front end which we have got in here using the search option. But anyways, I wanted to tell you about this code. Now you have got all the code, you have got all the queries, right, through this collection loop, but this is not exactly what we want to do. We want to actually delete them. We want to delete these queries, right? So we can do one thing. I can simply come here and I can write here do same day. Now do same day is your Access VBA syntax, which is going to do some action. Which action? These are all the methods which you can apply here: add menu, apply filter, cancel, close. There are a lot of actually stuff here, right? You can Google it, you can go to the Microsoft website, and you will you can see that what exactly they talk about. Every method has a different meaning, and every method has its own a different the action. So what action we need to actually use that correct method. For example, in this case, we want to delete the queries. So if I want to delete the queries, I'm going to use the delete object. When you press space bar, then you get to see all these methods, or all these basically the objects, right? So what is my object? So my object, the category is query, as you know. So you just select this AC query, and the next thing which you want to do is, now what is your query name, object name? That is my last parameter. So if I'm interested in deleting any particular the query, then I can even write the name there. For example, I can write here so I'm interested in deleting cross type query, so I can write the cross type query here, right? I can write like this, but then there is no purpose of running this loop, because this loop is not for this purpose. If you want to delete the cross type query, you can also go to the just cross type, right click and delete it. Or maybe if you want to do it from the VBA, then you can just write this single line. There is no need to write this, right? This loop actually we are writing so that we can delete all the queries one by one, because for each loop it is going to cover all the things for each query in all the queries. So one by one I'm going to have the access to all the queries, and then they are going to be deleted. So what do you want here? Now there is no specific query actually, because we have a lot of queries here, and every query it has a unique name. So what we can do is we can simply write here queue.name. So whatever the name I am going to have here, as I was telling you in the message box, you were actually getting to see all the queries one by one. So in the same way, when you're going to write this, when you're going to run this VBA, the query name would come here, and that is going to be deleted. All right, so let's just go ahead and let's press F8, and there we go. So do you want to delete the query all record? Yes, I want to delete it. There we go. So it is actually going to delete everything. and let me just quickly now press F5, and there we go. All right, so you can see that now there is no query window here. All the queries are, you know, deleted. So this is how you can prepare this particular code, right? So now let's say if you specifically want to delete any query, so let me just create any query over here. Let's say we're going to create this employee database query, and just a dummy query. Let me save this, and let's just have a name called query1. That's fine. And I'm going to copy it and paste it here again, and this time I'm going to name it, let's say, dummy. And one more query let's create, which is going to be test. Okay, now let's say we want to delete this particular query, the query which you actually you know, which you will write in the VBA. For example, now you don't need this entire code for each. You just let me just comment this out. So what you can do is you can simply just put the comments here, and you can run this. And what is going to be the name of the query, you can write it here. So let's say we want to delete the query called dummy. Okay, so I'm gonna write it within the code, and this is the single line. Now rest everything is, you know, we have commented it out. So let me put it here on the top. Okay, now let's run this, and there we go. You can see that the query is deleted, right? So but you see, when you write the VBA code, you basically connect all the VBA codes with the forms, because in the forms are always, you know, user is able to connect. Now somebody who doesn't know Access, or maybe who is not really so good in the Access VBA, if you tell that person to go here in the module and run all those codes, you know, chances are very high that he's gonna do some, you know, I mean, he's gonna run some wrong code, or maybe he while deleting or while editing anything, you know, he can actually make this change the program, right? Here there can be some syntax error as well. So generally we don't do that, right? Everything we provide in the front end. So for example, now if you want to create this, if you want to give this option in let's say in a form, that whatever the, you know, the form, in the form user selects the value, it should actually populate there, and then he can delete it. So that is what we are going to do this in this video. So I'm going to create a form. So you just create the form. Let's say form, we'll just create the design of this form. So this is the form, and I'm going to create here this one, the command button. I have clicked on this command button, and let's just cancel this out, and you can rename this. Just click on this, and I'm going to write here delete. Okay, so this is the button which I'm going to run this. I'm going to add the program here. Now which query actually you want to delete, that is also something very important. So maybe you can create the list box here, so we can create the list box as well, or maybe you can write the text box, you know, so user has to write the text box. So whatever, I mean, the way it suits you. I think, in my opinion, you can give the command box, or you can give the combo box or the list box. So let us create the list box, which can have all the, you know, these queries getting populated automatically. So you have to see that where is your list box, and here is my list box. So I'm going to click on this list box, and I'm going to expand this like this. Okay, now I want the list box to get the values from another table or query. So what do you want to do? So, or I will type in the values I want. So whatever the way you want, I mean, you can also select these. You can, you know, like write this, you can choose this as well. So for example, if I write here that I will type in the values that I want, so just click on the next, and in the next now you will have to write here that what values do you want to see in the list box. So let's say I'm going to write here the query one, and there is another value which I want to write test. So that, let's say these are the two queries I want to write. So next, and what label would you like to give to your list box? So we can see that my list box, you can write it my list box, and just finish it. The moment you do that, now let's have a look in you know, the form view. So you can see that you can actually have all the queries here, they are coming here, right? So the moment I press delete, that query should be deleted. This is what exactly we want to do. So in this delete query, we can run the program, and what the program we are going to write. So go in the design view, just click here, and this is what the property sheet window, you know, it will come automatically. In case if it is not coming, don't worry, just select this and click on this property sheet, or maybe you can press, you know, the shortcut key as well. So I'm going to press F4 right away. I've selected this, I'm going to press F4, and this will come, right? So here now you need to see that your object has to be the same button which you have created. Now this is the command button, that's why you see here command, right? So there are other things as well, like form and list one, and the details. So there are a lot of things here, right? So My target is to just select this and on click what you want to do. I beg your pardon. So on click what you want to do, just click on this adjust button and you will see the macro expression builder. So you can write whatever you want to do, right? You can set up the query, you can write the macros, but in this video we are going to talk about the Access VBA, so we are going to build the code, and that's why I'm going to click here. Now what do you want to do? So I want to run a program which we have already created right here, that is to delete the object. Now which object you want to delete, which query you want to delete, that would come from the list box. So whatever the value I have selected in the list box, that should come here, right? So for that we need to convert this into a variable, because I don't know which list box, in the list box which query actually my user is going to select. So come back to this and to this basically the form. Let me just click here. I just forgot the form name. This is the form 1 basically. Let me save the form as well. Let's just save everything. So this form 1, I don't change the name, but you prefer changing the names because it doesn't look nice that form 1, form 2, these are all going to confuse you. So rather than that, give a good name so that when somebody is going to, or maybe you yourself, when you're gonna have look on your database, you can see that, all right, so this form talks about the employee database, this form talks about the pension, this form talks about their funds, whatever. So I'm going to click this. I don't know what happens to my throat. So just go here, and now what do you want to do? So the moment you want to click this button, we want to actually see that what is the value in the list box. So I write here me and then the list box. So we need to see what was the list name. So I'm going to see that what is the list name actually, this control. So just select that and let's have a look here. So it's actually the name of this list box is list 1, right? So I write here, I'm going to write here dim, let's j as variant, because I don't know what name I will have in the query. So I'm just going to write it as a variant, and now j is going to be equals to list 1 dot value, right? So whatever the value I will have in that list box, that is going to be taken by this variable which is called j. Now let me just click here, put the break code here, and the next thing which we want to do is we want to call that macro. The macro name is retrieving query name, though it is now actually deleting, so you can change it. That's fine. I mean, we are not here to discuss these minor things. That's all up to you how you want to design the things, which naming convention you prefer. Okay, so we are here now. Let's go ahead and let's click on the view. Now let's say I want to delete this test query. I select this test, and the moment I'm going to click on the delete, you see this query is going to run. Now let us first of all see if we are able to get this test or not. So I'm going to hover my cell on this, and you can have a look on this. It actually says test, right? So j has this test, and the moment I'm going to run here, now I'm going to write here j, the variable which actually has taken that value from the list box. So I'm going to run this. Now in this case, the moment you run this, you would see that variable not defined. Now if you guys understand that what is a local variable, what is a public variable, what is a global variable, then I think I need not to explain you got it. But in case if you don't know that, then let me tell you. Basically when you run this, it says that in this subroutine which is retrieving query name, in this macro, you haven't defined the variable j, so you have to define it first, right? But I don't want to define it, because if I define it, then the variable which I have declared in the form, that is going to lose its value. So what happens when your variable, when your macro jumps from one, basically your this the macro, when you actually when you're running a macro from one macro to another macro, jumping. So when you are going to jump from one macro to the another macro, the previous variables which you have used for that macro 1, they are not going to be considered for the macro 2. Now in this case, what we are doing, we are calling this, so we are saying that before you finish this macro, you have to go to the retrieving query name macro, and there you have to pick up this j value, the j value which we are using in the form 1. But this is a local form, this is a local variable. It is not going to be used in, you cannot use this in any other module, right? Because this is a local variable, and it will remain active as long as you are in this macro. The moment you are through with this macro, this local variable is going to be destroyed. So what we need to do here in that case, you need to declare this as a global variable so that it can be used across all modules. So this is a very good lesson, right? This is a very good learning for you. Just in case if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you still have some issues, or maybe you want some more examples, why don't you go to my playlist and you find out here on the questions on the VBA. I have created a series here. Let me show you Excel VBA interview questions. Just go there and watch here a video, VBA interview questions part 1. This is I think 20-30 minutes of a video, and here I have talked about the local variables a lot, right? So you can go there and you can definitely search on this, that what exactly I'm talking about. So basically we are trying to change the scope of our variables. So now we're going to make it public. So here the same line which I have declared here, I'm going to cut this and I'm going to paste it here on the top, and this dim I will change it to global. Okay, now let's see what will happen. All right, so let's just keep it public. There we go, right? It's a user form actually, so I'm going to declare it as a public. Now let me run this and then you will see the difference. So again I have selected the test, okay, as you know. Let's press this. All right, so variable not defined, okay, so we have a problem here. Basically this public, let me change this to global. And so I believe that we are working on the form, so that's why it is not able to actually capture this global over here. So it's a form actually we are creating. So why don't we go ahead and cut this? Not a problem. I can use this here in the modules, because in the modules you can declare the the global variables. Now you see it has accepted that. So basically in the forms you can declare it, you can make it as a public one. So public means that within these this if you run here any event on this command button, like on this click, or maybe you can write any other event on exit or double click, that is going to be used. But to make it available in the module, which is the different module, you can't actually declare here on the top the global, as you saw that. So no problem, you can declare it anywhere. So I'm going to declare it here, global JS variant. Now let's go ahead and let's try to run this again. So I'm going to press delete. There we go. Now you see that I haven't declared anywhere J, so no need, because I have already declared it under the module 8, right? So module declaring it as a global means it can be accessed from any other module, module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4, or maybe in any of the forms, right? So now I'm going to press F8. Now let's see, we have got the value. Yeah, we have got the value. Very nice. Now it's going to actually go to this, and here now you see that my J is actually having the value. So that was the problem. Basically you can't declare the global variables on the forms, but yes, you can declare them on the modules. So through this we can achieve our purpose. So basically our job is to achieve the purpose. What we actually want to do is we should be able to do that. That's fine. So now let's run this, and there we go. So you can see that the query is deleted. There's no query here now with that name, right? So let me just copy this and paste here, and let's just write one more query, and let's just name this as test query. Okay, so one more query, I want to add it here. Let's say month query. Okay, it's a VBA word actually, so I'm gonna write here month details. Press OK, and there we go. Now the point is, which I was trying to tell you, now you see that here we have a problem. Now this is not going to be deleted itself, because you see, if you remember, we actually use them manually. So this list box is fine as long as you think that your queries are not going to be added on daily basis, or maybe on weekly basis, so it is going to remain stagnant. So for example, you have 50 queries and you will like to take that pain to enter all those 50 named as we written in the beginning of this list box. But I really hate this option actually. I wanted to tell you because so that you can understand the difference. Who knows, somebody can ask you this in your interview. So what is the difference between the manual list and the list? There is another option there, if you remember. Let me take you to the list box, because I know you will be I don't want to confuse you. Just click on the new list box, and this is what I was talking about. When you drag this, you get to see this. So you remember, guys, we actually said that I will type the values what I want. So again, you will have to go back and edit that. So I don't want to do that. I want to actually automate it. So this time I will not use this. I want the list box to get the values from the another table or the query. So which query do you want actually? That's the question now, right? So we can do one thing, just simply keep this option on and click on the next. Now what do you want? Now you guys, what actually we need is we need all the queries. So if we need all the queries, then which exactly the query can give you all the query names? Well, I don't think so there is any query which you can make which can retrieve all the query names to you, though you can select a query and you can make a subquery and you can get all the information from those tables, from those queries, by extracting its headers. But as far as I think the query names are concerned, it can be only done in the Access VBA. So I'm going to just cancel it out, right? So we just cancel it out, and just remember the name of this list box, which is list3. If you want, you can change it here. So in the VBA, then when you press me dot, your list box will appear by that name. Anyways, that we see a little later. Now what we need to do is I need to actually create here a macro. So I select this option, I select this control on click. So I'm going to select here and I'm going to build the code builder here, right? So what do you want to do when actually this is going to run? So you remember this is what exactly we have created. So I'm just going to copy the entire code. So you can again write it in the module and you can call it from there. It's your choice, but this time let me just write it here simply, right? There's no specific reason for that, just having a fun with this code. So let's do it actually in a little different way. So you can also write in the module and you can then call it. All right, so here we go. And so what we want to do is we already know that we have got all these basically the query names through this loop. If I run this, I will have all the query names by default, but this is not exactly what I want. Now I don't want actually the message box, I want to store it. I want to store those queries somewhere, right? So what you want to do is here in the list 3 item, let's just we can actually make a table. We can insert these records somewhere. The moment I have, let's say in the variable called, let me declare this my query equals to this queue name, and let's declare this my query as a variable. Okay, this is going to be very interesting, trust me. So string, because my all queries are string. So I want to store all this information in this my query one by one, right? But at the same time, whatever the name I have, I want to insert it somewhere. I want to actually store it somewhere. So for that, I can create a table, right? So to do that, let's just quickly create a table. I write here table design, and I'm going to write here query underscore name. Okay, keep it text. That's fine. I'm going to close this. Very simple. It's not going to take time. So what name you want to give? Let me just keep it table 1. There's no primary key defined. So well, you can say that you want to create a primary key. Well, no, that's fine. I don't want to create it. That's fine, right? So now if you look at this table 1, it is empty. So what we want, that every time when this loop run, which you have already seen, it should, it keeps on inserting the data here. Isn't it very interesting? I think it's very interesting. It's a pure actually Access VBA. We started from the very basic things, like we ran the loops and we retrieved the names, and then through the form also we were able to delete it. But this is actually the this is a real thing, that what if you want to change your queries again and again in the list box, because tomorrow you may have 20 queries added. So every time you can't go to that list box and keep on adding, right? So everything going to be automated. So in this case, now once we have the queries, this collection loop is going to run, give us all the queries back to back. So we want to store this in the variable called my query, and this variable actually I want to insert in this record, right? So in this record, how I can do that? So maybe you can run the command which is called the insert command, the append query actually. So I'm going to write here do cmd. Let's say if we can do that, run SQL command. There we go. Now in this SQL command, what I want is I simply want to insert the data. So I'm going to write here insert. This is how you write insert into, and then you have to write the table name. The table name is table 1. That's the table name. And then I guess you write the values here, and then you have to write in the brackets that what exactly you want to insert in which field, right? So it works like this. Now I don't remember, let's say I don't remember that insert query, right? So if you don't remember it, no problem, just go to the, you know, this the Google, and let's just write insert query in SQL or Access VBA, whatever you want to write. It's just one and the same thing, right? In my previous video also I have used this a lot of times, so just go there on this, any link you can follow, I'm in, right? So just let me see here, let me show you. So this is exactly the insert query. Insert into the table name and the values, what values you want to insert, right? If you have a lot of columns, for example, in our case we have just one column which is only the query name, so you don't have to write anything. You just write insert into, and the table name, which is going to be the table name is going to be the table 1, and the value which you want to insert, that is going to be my variable, which is this my query, right? But in case if you have a lot of headers, let's say you have here in our database, let's say what if we would have query name and then query description, and then there are, you know, 3-4 more headers, then in that case, you know, you will have to write this, the table name and the column 1, column 2. So in the column 1, let's say you have a column 1 called my name, in the column 2 age, and the column 3 you have a father's name, you know. So that headers goes here, and then in the values in the same order you will have to write. So for the first name you have to write here your name, and then, you know, for the your date of birth or age, you know, whatever. So we are not going to follow this, we are going to write this simple query, right? So this is exactly the same query. If you don't know it, let me just show you query design. If you create any, let's say, append query in the MS Access, if you know about this append query, let's say I want to append this data, in the table called compile. I just click this. Obviously this doesn't make any sense because this is not exactly what we want to do, but I just want to show you. If you go to the view and the SQL view, you see here that it creates this query insert into and the table name compile, where you want to insert, and what you want to insert, actually whatever you select from the employee database. This is a kind of this is actually the SQL syntax, right? Structured query language, SQL. People also call it SQL, right? So that's what we want to do here. So we'll just keep it simple. I have my table name and the values. So in the values now, I'm going to have this my query. So simply I'm going to write here my query, right? Now because you see that let me just run this and let's see if we can have this query inserted or not, if this query is going to work or not. Then we will see to it. So let me just close this table. Okay, now let's go back to your the command called the view. Okay, now I'm going to click here on this option. Let me put the break code here, because you remember, or maybe we are going to actually click on this. So I will have to basically write this entire code in this command button. So we're gonna off this options. Okay, because the moment you click on the command button, then you would be able to see everything, right? And so what we want to do is we want to run this command right away. Let me just cut this and put it here in the command. Click, there we go. Okay, so this is the code right now, and let's just click on this. And you know that this table is empty right now. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. There we go. Now let's see what is going to happen. So what is the query name? You can see here that we got the first query name, which is this. Now it is going to insert, it should ideally insert this query, you know, this query into this table, but I know it is not going to run. It will give you the error. It says something, or you know, it gives you the pop-up my query parameter. So it is not a parameter query. So what happens, guys, actually when you write this query, you have to write it in the quotes. But the thing is, because this is a variable, so you can't write this within the quotes, because if you're going to write this within the quotes, everything, then this is not going to act as a you know, insert query, because this is a variable. You can't write this within the code. So what you will do, you will join this, the close bracket, and then you will write and then you will again write the end after this, and then you put this in the quotes. Let me just close this, right? So this is your now insert query. So what we did is, now this my query, if I hover my cell, you can see that it's coming here, because it's a variable. You can't put it within the quotes, right? So basically what I did, I simply concatenated this entire line, I put it within the quotes, and then I joined it with the variable called month details, and then again with month details, because we need to close the query also. To close this we need the close brackets, so I've created one more, which is this. As you can see here, the the closing bracket basically. So now let's just run this, and there we go. It again says, it gives us the problem, which is a pop-up. So I'll tell you actually what is the problem. Let me just click on the end. So basically when you write in the Access VBA, when you use the variables, you have to write the quotes in the front and in before and after it. So this is what exactly we want to write it like this. But you can't write like this, because this is not going to be understood by the VBA, right? So you need to put them, these apostrophes, single apostrophes, in the double quotes. So this is how I'm going to write it, this, and then obviously you will have to join this, and then again you put one more and there we go. Okay, now let's just create some space as well. Let me press the space bar here, and let's put the space bar here. There we go, so that it's easy to understand and should work also. Okay, so there we go. All right, so I think now there's no error here. Let's come back to our this delete code and run this. Now let's have a look on this. All right, there you go. It started working. Very nice. You're about to append one row, so which means that obviously you're going to append the one data. So just press yes, obviously, and then next, and then again you're about to append one row. So it should actually give you the last time one more option, because we have 3 queries. So there we go, and now it should actually stop. There we go. So I think we are good to go. Let's just click on this, and there we go. All right, very nice. So you got all the query names here, and this is now what we actually want to link with the list box. You got the idea now what exactly I'm trying to do here. It's really a very good learning. It has involved a lot of concepts like it. Apart from writing the syntax, you're learning the collection loops, you're learning this do cmd command, and not only this, I think in this exercise you're also learning that how you basically connect the forms with the Access VBA, and then somewhere in the middle you also use the tables. So that's a very classic example. So once we have gotten that, now what is the next thing we want to do? The next thing I would like to do is, first of all, I want to get rid of these the message boxes which you were getting. So we can do that. We can write here on the top that do cmd set warning off. You can write here off. I think it's off or false. I believe it's false actually. Okay, and the moment you are through with the macro, don't forget to put it back on, set warning. So I'm going to write here true. Okay, now let's see what exactly I'm talking about. So you just delete this table, this table. So I'm going to delete this, and we're going to close this, everything. Okay, so now we're gonna run this again. So let's have a look. This time we get the prompt or not. Oh my goodness, you see that? There's no prompt coming. I love programming actually. It's a beautiful thing, I enjoy it a lot. So everything is all set, and let's have a look if we got the data or not. Oh yeah, we got the data. So this works nice. Now you don't have to wait for all those yes, because if you have 50 queries, then are you kidding me? I mean, are you going to press 50 times yes? So you would say that it's better, I can do it manually. So that's why you can actually write this do cmd set warning, right? So actually you let us know about the problem, and we have a solution for that. So we have a lot of problems in the programming, but then we have a solutions also. So you need to find it out. You need to do a little hard work on that. Okay, so now the last thing which is required is to link this list box. So how are you going to do that? So for that, I'm going to run a query. So let's say I go to the design view and I select this, and now on this click, basically it's not going to be click. Let me just delete, because you can't actually want to do anything when you click the list box. Really, do you want to do anything? I don't think so. You just want to run something when you click here, not here. So here I'll tell you, I will create a query here, the query design. I go in the query design, and here I am going to use this table 1, and we're going to simply use a query called select query. That's it. You can see it's in the view. If I run this, it has all the names here, and this is what we want to link. So I'm just going to press it yes, and we're going to save it. So this query, I can write it as precious query, okay, or not to be deleted, right? So maybe I can say like do not delete. Okay, that's it. Now you got the DND query. So every time you have new queries added here in this table, you will have this list automatically, you know, resizing itself. So we will come to that little later. First of all, let's just go ahead and, you know, on this we have to write which actually the query we want to write it. So in this case, now what I can, this list box selected, and now what I want to do is you can't write anything on click, before update, after update. That's not something we're looking forward to. We just want that it should pick up that, you know, the source from the table 1. So if you click here on this option called the row source and the row source type, so what is it? It is table query or it is something else. You can, you know, choose anything from here. If you want the value list, field list, you know, you can write it. Value list means that then you will have to write here what you want to write, but I because my query is going to work, so I just keep it by default. The option is table query and I keep it on. So now what you want here is just click here and you will see all the queries here. So we need our, you know, this DND, basically the query it should run, you know, this query, you know, this is giving the option called all the retrieving the values, all the values of your queries, all the query names basically. You can also select the table 1. That's one and the same thing. If I select the table 1, then it is going to be linked with the table 1. Now let's just come outside and let's click on the view, and you can see here that I've got all the queries, right? So this is done now. Now what you need to do is first of all, let's just delete this the previous one. So this is my form, and I'm going to click on this, and this is what I have. List tree, you can change this, you can also delete it, whatever you want to write. I mean, just in case if you want to write something here, you can also write, you can edit it. So just a label, so you can write here that queries list, let's say, right? So this is what we have got, so, you know, so far. Now the moment I select this monthly details, I click on the delete, then this monthly details should be, you know, deleted from this, right? This is what exactly I want to see now. So let's just come back, go back to the design view, and let's have a look on the command button. Everything looks good or not. So I just click on the view code, right click, and go to the view code option. Where is it? View code, or maybe I can use it from here. I can go from here as well. Yeah, so we don't need this. I'm just simply going to delete this. So this is what it is going to do. It is going to insert all the things. So if it is going to insert all the things, but this is the delete button basically. So we have to create one more, let's say a button which should actually refresh the things. So what we can do is maybe we can create one more button which can export import all the, you know, the tables here. So let me create this command button, and let me just write here cancel, and you just write here import new queries, import queries, or you can write simply refresh before delete. Okay, so that's the button I'm going to create here, and we can put it here, and so we go to it again, you know, the view code. So I'm going to click here on this view code. You can use this also. So list 3 is the name of this, not the list 3, but this is my command 5. Okay, so I go to this event on click, and on click what I want to do is I'm going to click on this button code builder, and there we go. Now I'm on the command 5, right? So actually it's quite, you know, it's entirely different from the Excel VBA. So sometimes, you know, you take a little time to get a hang of it. So most of the time I work on the Excel VBA, and so I always like, you know, to use the way we use the, you know, the controls in the user forms in Excel. So that's why sometimes it takes a little time to go to the particular option. So anyways, so I'm going to run this entire code, because this is we will have to write it in the command 5. Okay, because this is what going to refresh everything when you're going to click on the refresh, then you are going to see every item there. So that's fine here. Till this item, it is going to insert all the the names of my queries. And in this button, which is my this button, so let me also change the name of it because I'm not liking this. Just click on this, just click here and give it a good name. This command 5 is not good. I would say cmd refresh. Okay, all right, and select this as well and give it a good name, cmd delete. That's it. Okay, so now let's go to the event and select this code again. So you can see that this is command refresh is created. So we have to cut this entire thing. This is now looking good. Now you would understand actually. So let me delete this command 5. It has no meaning now. So we're going to delete this. Now what is the next thing we want to do? Obviously I will select this now to delete that. So I go here, and this is again my cmd delete. So I just need to delete this. Okay, and so here to delete it, what we want to do is, we have already created this the module which I'm going to show you, which we have created. So that's the one, right? So I'm just going to write this line over there, and so this is what we want to delete. And so dimj, now there's no need to write it in the as a global variable. So I'm just going to write here variant because I'm gonna use it right away. So j is going to be equals to my list box. What was the name of the list box? I think it's list3, right? Dot value, whatever he selects. So let me put the break code here. Okay, all right, so I guess we are okay with this. And now you can give this maybe a different color. For example, you can choose give some maybe this color, right? So we can also give this maybe, let's say this one, to refresh, so that you should not forget what to refresh. So there we go, and let's have a look on this. So I refresh it, and there we go. So the moment you're going to refresh it, you see every time you refresh it, you're going to append those number of rows, right? So I click on the yes, yes, and yes, and yes. So you have all the queries back again. Look at this, right? So obviously you will not like to refresh it till the time you're not sure that is there any query added, because this is going to again add these queries, and automatically what will happen, when you're going to close this, let me save this and let me click back on this form, you will have these queries again populated, which looks very absurd. So what we can do is we can delete this. I again go to this in the design view. So before refreshing it, why don't we just make the table empty, right? So we can do that. So in that case, what we need to do is I need to again go to it the VBA code here. So before it refreshes, we want to delete everything. So what you're going to do is simply run the command called run SQL. So there is a delete query, which is this delete star means all. So put the star from the table name. It's very simple, right? There we go. That's it. And we have to write set warning as well to cmd set warning equals to basically there's no equals to, just need to write false. Okay, and I'm going to copy this entire stuff, and we're going to write this the bottom as well, which is already written. All right, I didn't see that, that's fine. Okay, so I think now we are going good. So let's go ahead and let's click back on this. Let's go to the view and let me refresh this. All right, so it is refreshed. I clicked it. Let's just close this. Do you want to save? Yes, I want to save, and there we go. All right, very nice. So you got all the queries back, right? So now if I create any query further, let's just create the query called time values, let's say. Okay, so now we have to see whether this value would come in this or not. So I click here, there we go. I just close this, and I'm going to open the form I again, and there we go. So you have your query back, right? Now I also see one more thing which is looking very awkward here. What is this query? So let me just click on this. So there is a query which is inserted here. I don't know now what is this all about. Maybe it's capturing that there are some internal queries as well. So you can actually basically ignore them. You can delete them. For example, let me just refresh this, and let's see if this time this is going to be added. Yeah, it is added. So you can pick up any kind of the query which contains, let's say, form 1. So let's say this is your query basically. So why it is actually coming, this we need to see. So if I run this query, this is what actually exactly we have written previously. So let's see if we are getting this query somewhere or not, and then we will fix it. We don't need the junk queries. So I'm going to write here this. Yeah, so that's the query, right? Somehow it's coming. It's might be some there are some queries tables which are stored in the Access in the background as well, which comes when you run this loops. If you want to know more about it, you can go in the collection loop and you can find it out that where we have made that the loop where we are running the retrieving the access tables one by one. So there also we have got a lot of tables. But anyways, we can do one thing. There is a very quick fix about for this problem, which is that any query which you are running, because so I have just taken this dummy data, but in the practical environment, a good programmer always write something very specific with every query. For example, you write the keyword _q, right? That tells you that this is the query. So you can prefix all these with this, and then in our if condition we can write that just capture the name only when you have this _q. So that will save you from adding all those by default queries which are getting added. So let's just write this here. So I'm going to press _q again, and here also we're going to press _q. There we go. Okay, so let's just quickly first refresh, close, and let me reopen the form. Alright, so we got all the queries. So we have to get rid of this, which is the top one. So no problem, I'll go here, and what I'm going to do in my form 1, I'm going to say that if my query name contains this is how you write like, and then _q. okay, and so this is what exactly I want to do. I'll show you. Then else nothing, end if, simply just write end if. Okay, so I want to say that it has anything of before. So you are going to write like this, star. Star means anything. I have used these wild characters a lot. We call them wild characters, special characters. So we use them in Access VBA also. If you know my channel, if you have watched all those amazing 195 videos, then there most of the time in the if conditions loops we have used this star button. So if you don't have any idea about it, this simply means that it can contain anything before this word, right? So let's just put this within the quote, and there we go. All right, so now this is the line, and let me magnify this. Okay, so if your query contains anything before this word _q, then it should be included. Otherwise it should not be included. So what will happen, that at last you have this _q. So any query which has anything before it, or maybe doesn't have it, it will be included. So this will be automatically rejected. So now if I'm going to press refresh, and I should close this, and I should click back, I should not be seeing that. All right, so it has deleted everything. That's very interesting. Let's have a look again what happened. So again I go to this code, and so if it contains, then insert the value, else go to the end if. Okay, so it seems like this is a perfect. So let me put the breakcode here, and let's just go to this form view again. Let me hit back here. There we go. So what is the first query? The first query is oh, my mistake, I'm so sorry. Actually, you're using the wrong variable. So you use here q, right, and here also you use q. Yeah, that's the one, right? There is no word my query actually, so I changed it. Now actually I should be able to work on this, so that's fine, right? You understood the problem. We declared here, let me undo this again. This my query, this has to be q because you're using everywhere q, right? So wait a second, we have just cut and pasted from the module, so we have to see. So my query, if my query is this, then you are going to write here q dot name actually. So let's just declare here double q, and I'm gonna write here q equals to q dot name. Okay, that's fine, and just write here q. All right, I think now this should work. We are just actually storing a variable, and you have to declare the qq as a variable as string, so this will have the query name. Okay, so let's just refresh it. Type mismatch. So what is the error? If q, okay, so here we have qq. Okay, yeah, now let's just run this because qq is a variable which is going to have this query name. So let me just press, there we go. Okay, the macro ran. Now I have to open it again. So yes, I want to see the changes. Oh, there we go. All right, now finally we actually are, you know, on the correct path. So let me go ahead and create one more query of this. So let's say we're going to create a query called salary underscore q. Let me just press OK. Okay, now click on the refresh, and the data is refreshed. I close this, and I'm going to open this again, and there we go. So I have got it opened, right? So this is now perfect. Now we want to delete it, so let's have a look on the delete part as well. So in the delete part, this is going to be the list 3. Let's just have a look on the control name. What is it? So yeah, it is list 3. I can see here it's 3. So I think this should work now. So we're gonna run this again. Go to the view, and now let us just run it. So let's say we want to delete this this query 1 underscore q. Let me delete. Okay, so this is going to delete. All right, there we go. So let me just remove this breakcode. So in this way, now we can delete anything. You can see here I'm going to delete everything. You can see everything is deleted. It can't find, oh, my mistake. Yes, obviously it's not there because, you know, so you refresh it, and the moment you refresh it, you open the form again, you see that you have only 3 queries. Now one more thing which I want to do now, this DND do not delete query, you cannot populate it here, because if you select and delete this, then this is directly linked with your, you know, the form control, which is called the list box. If you remember this list box, if I take you to the data in this, you know, in the row source, this actually talks about the table 1. The table 1, you know, it is actually getting formed with this, the query which is called the query called the DND underscore q. Are we using it or not? Let me just have a look on this piece here again. So here we are running the insert into table 1 command. So I think we are not actually, so we don't need this query. The planning was to, you know, link it with the query, but then we, I think, used the DND query. We didn't use the DND query, we just used the VBA syntax, which is this to insert this query. So every time this query keeps on inserting the data in the table called table 1, right, which is this. Okay, so we don't need that. Now I can delete this. There's no need for that, so that's fine. Okay, so there we go. Now we have got these queries here. Let me just refresh it and click back here, and there we go. We have only 2 queries, right? So if I add something, let me add. So I'm going to write here questions underscore q. Let me press OK, refresh it, and then close it, and we can now open the form. There we go. Now guys, I was just thinking that do we really actually need to close the form every time? Can't we, you know, just click here and the data get refreshed? So we have to see it. So what we can do is, here in this refresh, here we can write here that DoCmd refresh records. Okay, now let's say I'm going to delete this. And so you write not refresh, but you write requery. Okay, let's see now, because this is very, I mean, who's gonna close the form again and again? So let's just click here. Okay, so it's refreshing. Now I'm gonna delete this. I deleted this. Let me refresh here. Oh, there we go. Bingo, you got it. You got it. You don't have to now close the form. This is so exciting. Wonderful, right? So in this way, you know, I think now we are done. We are extremely, I'm quite satisfied with this kind of a now form. It has everything. It can requery everything. It can give you, you know, the queries names then and there. You don't have to close it and open it again and again, because I know that is going to give you frustration. And at the same time, if you have some more queries added, automatically again those queries will be reflected here. So let's do our last test, and I'm gonna write my name here, and let's just press OK and click on this. There we go, guys. Wow, it is so good, right? I know you're gonna use it now. You're gonna love this. So let me just delete this. There we go. I deleted it. I refreshed it. Okay, there we go. So in this way, actually, you can make this, you know, a very wonderful program. So I hope you enjoyed this Access VBA program. So they basically what I have done, you know, everything in the form controls now. There's no need to go to the modules. This is your entire code. And if you look at this code, this is so easy. So important things, let's just summarize the everything. Now I know that this is what this code is. What this code is to refresh. So to refresh it, what we did actually is we created a table which will always stay there. We're never going to delete that table. So table 1 is going to be created with just one header, which is query name. You can write whatever name you want, and whenever user clicks here on the refresh before del, then what will happen? This table first of all will be deleted using the delete query, which we have used here, which is this delete query, so that, you know, it should be empty, because every time if you run it, same values keep on getting added, and that we do not want to do. So this will ensure that the table should be empty. Afterwards, it is going to run a loop, which is a very simple loop, and this is going to, you know, go one by one on every query. And also, because you are going to make your queries, you're going to prefix something which is unique and which should not actually clash with the Access internal queries. So we have used this _q. You have seen that, you know, we were getting some Access internal query and which was looking very awkward. So we simply used this if condition, that if qq contains, like means contains star, and this we have written _q, the same query which comes, you know, at the end of this you have this _q. So that means that anything before _q, if it comes and nothing after _q comes, then that is my query, that is our query. So just run this insert query, insert that query into the table 1, and what you are supposed to insert, that is decided by this qq. Obviously that's a query name, and then, you know, afterwards this is important line, that requery, so that you don't have to close it. It is going to basically run this query again, because when you're going to insert something and then to get the new value, you're just requerying that insert query again, and that is why we are able to see everything on the form itself, right? And the important thing which we again did is that how to link this basically the list box. So you see that what we have done is we actually simply let me show you here. Basically we went to the property sheet here, and I have written here that in the data under this row source, I have written here table 1. So the row source for this is going to be the table 1, which means that all the the values, the records, not the records, but the values under that field header, you know, these two records basically are going to be, or 2 or whatsoever, I don't know now, you know, how many queries you're going to run. So everything will actually be linked with this table 1. So this is, we are adding in the row source. So row source means that automatically is going to pick up that value, you know, and going to form in the list box. That's the list box row source property. You will also find it in the combo box, and I have actually this is not a new thing. I mean, we are using here in the Access, we are using it for the first time, but I believe in the Excel VBA we have used it a lot, right? If you have seen my all those combo box, list box, ActiveX controls, user forms, the videos. So that's it. I'm not gonna take now much of the time. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, you have a subscribe button right on your this bottom corner, so just go there and click and be a part of this awesome journey. And so I'll come back with some more exciting stuff. Till then, I hope you enjoyed this code and it has given you today new learning about the Access. So we'll come up with some more exciting stuff very soon, and we'll work on the Access VBA again. Till then, you take care of yourself and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.